So you come out of retirement. You're now a San Francisco 49er. Was it hard learning that West Coast offense?
Well, it was hard. I expected to become a rookie once again. This is a team that just won the Super Bowl the year before. They won in 81. I'm coming to them in 82. So I'm a rookie all over again. So I took, a little bit of that hazing again and a couple extra shots on the field and everything else. But that team was so motivated, and it was only Ronnie Lott's second year, and you're running against a guy running routes against a guy like Ronnie Lott. He was a corner to start with, so now he's a strong safety, so he's got, 4.3, 4.4 speed, and quick feet, and all the guys on that team from front to back. And it was, and then unfortunately it was a strike season, 9 weeks of missing the season. And so you didn't really feel like you fit in very well, nor did you have a chance to learn that West Coast offense. But when you look at a playbook in training camp, and the basic plays, let's say, were 120 plays, and let's say there's 60 on the run game and 60 in the passing game. You go to the line of scrimmage, and a audible was made either by a quarterback or somebody called a change on the line of scrimmage, one of the tackles, one of the other guys. I could call a change on my side if I saw a strong safety blitz coming. Or as soon as the ball was snapped, if they hit everything real well, and then you see games and you see a Mike blitz, a middle backer blitz, you'd alter your route any more than like 2 or 3 different ways without an audible, without any chance to. So you have 120 plays. Each one is you can multiply that times 3 or 4 once the ball is snapped. You got to be able to make those changes, and everybody has to see the same thing. The only way to do that is repetition, and we did repetition. We did repetition in meeting rooms. We did repetition, T-shirts and shorts, walking through, jogging through, over and over and over. But Bill Walsh said something one day in a meeting that put it all together for me, because I was, how the heck do you remember all these things? He said, look, guys, he's talking to everybody now in training camp. He said, I know this book is a little overwhelming for you new guys. He looked right at me. I just smiled. He said, we run to the right, we run up the middle, we run to the left. Those guys try to stop us. We'll have different formations, and we'll put guys in motion, but that's it. We're running. And we run on first down, usually, and sometimes on second down, and then we start putting the ball in the air. Then we have short, middle, and deep on the left side, short, middle, and deep in the middle, and short, middle, and deep on the outside to the right. That's it, guys. That's it. Now, if you can remember the changes that these changes in those coverages, how they affect, or the defensive fronts, or the stunts and games that are played. He said, that's the hard part. He said, running the play is easy. And he was right. Pretty soon, it just became automatic. And pretty soon, there's only 3 or 4 guys that I'm reading particularly. I'm not reading everything like Joe Montana, who had an incredible field of vision. I'm reading my side of the field, and it's going to impact, I know what's going on the other side of the field, so I know that when I do a cross, it's going to be a deep cross, not a flat cross, because that corner is going to be gone with one of the receivers or one of the backs, and I'm coming across. So that West Coast offense was really a stroke of genius, and that's why we called Bill, because he was a very strict coach. We called him the white-haired humanitarian genius, because everybody was calling him, he's a genius. Oh, yeah? Well, you ought to be here and work for this guy. But he wanted us to be at our best, and he gave us so much more than we ever got back, or gave back, I should say. So, those are great experiences and great time. And when you mentioned coming back to the team and going through that first year, it was difficult. 1983, that team started to hit its stride. In 1984, we only lost 1 game the entire season, and we beat a former Patriot rival, the Miami Dolphins, play them twice a year back here in the East. We played them in Super Bowl 19. They were favored by 11 points. We'd be 38-16. It was the best game plan Bill Walsh said he ever put together. And he always did the first 25 plays the night before. It's the only game I ever played with San Francisco or any team. Well, he's the only team that gave us 25 plays the night before. We ran every single play because he knew exactly what they're going to do. And so you get put into a situation like that. The only thing you have to be concerned with is doing your job at the highest level possible because you knew everybody else was going to do theirs.
After your career in New England and making the playoffs a few times, how special was it getting to the Super Bowl and finally breaking through and beating a former division rival?
I went out of bounds once and almost took Don Shula, the head coach for the Miami Dolphins, and a great, great human being who's recently passed, and my condolences to his family because he helped so many people over the years. And that's really what this is all about, Brad, too, as you know. These guys are football coaches or they're football players or they're football fans. We get to become a large family. We get to know each other. We get to help each other out. We become part of each other's lives in so many ways. And Don Shula is one of the guys, and I just missed him. He goes, I thought you were going to take me out. And I just laughed. I said, Coach, I'd never do that. And I winked at him. And so they were going to beat us, and Bill Walsh put together that plan. And the satisfaction came in a couple of different ways. From the beginning and the middle and the end was, or towards the end, beginning was the President of the United States, somebody I held in high regard because of all the accomplishments that he'd made going from being an actor to a politician to a governor for the state of California to the President of the United States. Ronald Reagan flipped the coin toss for the game. And he's up on the big screen. We're at Stanford Stadium. It might as well be it was a home game. And 80,000, 90,000, 100,000 fans just going crazy, most of them 49er fans. I almost felt sorry for the Dolphins, but I couldn't find it in my heart to do that. And then, middle of the game, Joe Montana is just zip, zip, zip every play. I don't know if any of his plays, pass plays, were not complete. And then towards the very end of the game, Keith Farnhorst walks up to me, our right tackle with the 49ers, because he'd been on the first Super Bowl team. He says, how does it feel to be a world champion, to win your first Super Bowl? I looked up at the clock. There's 2 minutes and 34 seconds left, and I'll never forget that. And I said, Keith, I'll celebrate as soon as that gets down to 0. And he goes, wow. He says, you're intense. And you just don't want to give up anything. If we went back on the field one more time, So 38-16 was the final score, and one of the best teams in NFL history. We lost because a play was called back against the Steelers, and our kicker, missed it just by a little bit because it was moved back out of his range, and that was our fault for me. He made the first one, and somebody jumped off sides, so it wasn't his fault. But 19-1 was that team's season. I know that Coach Shula in 1972, it was the only team that's gone with that big 0 at the end of it. But quite an experience, quite a team, and the team just kept getting better and better. And so did the Patriots, and both of those teams have really, had as much historic success as any of the other teams, like the Dallas Cowboys or, like Don Shula. So who would have ever expected a surfer from Hawaii would ever end up doing all of those wonderful things and meeting all those fantastic people?